Yo, what's up guys, it's E.R.P.I here. In today's video I will be showing you guys how to add effects to your Fortnite montage from scratch. By the way, there will not be any plugins at all in this video. Basically what that means is I won't have any presets at all in this tutorial, so we'll be making all the pre-shakes and impacts fully from scratch. And I'm gonna show you guys how to add shakes, how to add flickers, and how to use the graph in Davinci Resolve. So let's get right into it. By the way, drop a like, drop a sub, and please use code E.R.P.I in the Fortnite item shop #ad. See you guys in Davinci Resolve. Okay guys, so I'm basically in Davinci Resolve right now, and before we actually do anything you have to sync up a clip with the music as well as time mapping it. Hopefully you guys know how to do that, but I already done that. This basically how it looks for me.
Let's do this.
Now when we're done that, we can actually start doing the build up. Basically we're gonna start off by just going to the shot of impact. If you didn't know what the shot of impact is, it's the first frame you see this like red yellow dots in your crosshair base. For me it's right there. Then we go to effects and drag an adjustment clip and make sure the adjustment clip ends at the shot of impact. Then you need to go to the future tab with the adjustment clip. But now we're actually gonna start adding a pre-shake directly. Press on the media one and press Ctrl space and search up shake. And then you should get two camera shakes. Take the one below, so the second option, press add like this. It should get connected right away. If don't, just connect it again. If it doesn't appear, just do it many times and it should appear. Then basically some stuff we need to change right away. Change the zoom crop to 0 and change the border type from black to reflect like that. Then basically want to drag up the motion scale all the way to the right like this, and the motion blur too all the way to the right like this, just so it is a bit more smooth. Then we're gonna make a Y shake. So how to do that, you need to drag the pan amplitude down to 0 as well as the rotation amplitude down to 0, and drag up the PTR speed a bit, maybe to the middle. You can also play around with this later, okay? But now we actually need to start keyframes and stuff. Start by going all the way to the right like this of the adjustment clip, and then you need to go 30 frames to the left. You see these like white lines on the timeline right there? Every white line is 10 frames, so if we just take the third white line, that should be 30 frames. So basically go to the third white line from the end and keyframe the tilt amplitude and drag it to 0. Then you want to go to the last frame again, so over here, and drag up the tilt amplitude maybe to the middle. We will have to look at this and see what looks best. Honestly, I think that might look good. I think I might drag up the PTR speed a bit like this. Pretty clean in my opinion, but in my opinion it kind of starts shaking too fast. It is quite linear, so we're gonna make it more exponential. How to do that? Press on the camera shake node and open the spline up here. Then select the tilt amplitude and press on this kind of scale thingy so it gets full screened. Then there should be like two dots like this. Then basically want to press on the first dot over here and drag this line a bit like this. Basically replicate what I'm doing. Then press on the second dot and drag it a bit down like this. You might have to play around with this. I think this actually looks quite clean in my opinion. You might have to play around with this later, but that's up to you. But one thing I might change is drag up the PTR speed a bit more like that. So now we're actually gonna add the kind of saturation, and that's also super easy to do. Press on the camera shake and press Ctrl space and search up CC and press add. It's basically just color correction, no plugins, simple Davinci Resolve. Keyframe the saturation on the third line from the end, so 3rd frames back, and basically leave the saturation as it is. Then basically go to the last frame and keyframe it again and drag down the saturation as much as you think look good. I usually don't drag it down to 0 since I think that's just too much gray. I just leave maybe a bit of space between the end and the dot, so there's a bit of color maybe. So something like this probably. But now we're actually gonna graph this too by pressing it and going to the spline. And now we might have to uncheck the camera shake by just pressing on 2 times like that. And only the color correction should be left. Press on this full screen again and you see these 2 same dots. You basically want to replicate what I'm doing again. Press on the first dot, drag it out kind of like this, and then press on the second dot and do like this. So I actually think that's a good spine. I don't think we have to change anything else. So now we can go back to edit tab, and it shouldn't lag at all since there's no plugins, and it should look quite clean. Pretty clean in my opinion. But now we're actually gonna add the impact, and that's kind of the most hard part, but it don't get scared, it's still not hard. How to do it: go to shot of impact again, go to fix and begin adjustment clip, and make the adjustment clip start at the shot of impact. Then basically just hover the adjustment clip and go to fusion tab. And we're gonna do a kind of severe wavy impact. You might think that it's hard, but it's actually one of the simplest impacts to do. Basically click on the medium one, plus control space, and switch up wave in S right here. And it should look quite crazy like this. You're gonna change the waviness type to horizontal, so it is like this. And then basically what you want to do is you want to go to the first frame of the adjustment clip and keyframe the scale and drag it to as much as you think look good. I think we might even leave it at the original, honestly. Now we'll probably drag down a bit, so maybe like 16. Yeah, I think 16 will look good. Then you want to go 50 frames to the right, and you don't have to count that again, just go to the fifth like white line, so over here, and drag the scale to 0. But then basically if you play it back, you should notice that at the end it starts shaking up and down, and that's because of the strength. So how to basically fix that is go to the second keyframe of the scale and keyframe the strength, then basically go 10 frames to the right, so the other white line, and drag the strength to 0, and that should end the shaking kinda. It ends quite smooth and clean in my opinion. Now we're actually gonna add a screen bump just to add some movement. How to do that is press Ctrl space and switch up transform right here, and just take the original. I think it's good with it. And then basically go to the fast frame, keyframe the size and zoom in a bit, quite a lot maybe actually, like this, and then go 10 frames to the right and keyframe it, and drag it to the original again. Then we're gonna press on the transform, press on the spline, and make sure that the only thing ticked is the size, like that. Full screen it, and do the same thing as I'm doing with these dots. Drag them like this, and kinda maybe like this, and then maybe drag this even more like this, so the bump kind of disappears fast. I think that will look clean. Now we're actually gonna add a kind of glow and a flicker, but we're gonna start off with the glow. How to do that is press on the transform and switch up glow, and just add the first one that pops up, and you won't be able to change colors on the first one. If you want to change colors, press on the second one, because this is just a kind of Soviet glow in my opinion. I think this looks clean. And then you just have to play around with the glow size and how much it glows. This is just up to you, you have to play around. That's basically how it is. I think this looks clean, you can copy it if you want, but then basically we want to press on the glow and press on this kind of circle up here, and you see that will get kind of masked out like this. And then basically we want to drag out the width on the circle like this by just taking the corner and dragging it, so it is kind of like this. Then you want to drag up the soft edge up here, so it is quite high, so like this. So the glow is mostly in the middle. I just think that it looks clean. Honestly, I might drag up the soft edge to the max like that. So I think that looks quite clean, but now it's actually one thing left to add, and that's the flicker. And that's actually super easy. Press on the glow and press Ctrl space and switch up flicker. Take the first one to pop up. And basically what we're gonna change is we're gonna drag up the speed quite a lot and change the range quite down like this. Pretty clean. We're not gonna keyframe anything in the range, but we're gonna go back to the glow and keyframe some stuff. Go to fast frame and keyframe the blend at the value it stands. It might be different for everyone. And then basically go to the fifth dot over here and drag it to 0. But then basically go back to Edit tab and check out looks. I think it looks really clean for being something I just did for a tutorial. So you can play around even more and add even more effects and see what you think look best. But I think this turned out quite good, and hopefully you learned something and learned how to use the graph. If you did, please consider dropping a like as well as subscribing. If you want more new plugins tutorials, comment down below, and watch this video if you want more overedit style effects with no plugins. See you in that video.